So I have the honor and privilege for bringing up to the stage our Chief Cultural Officer, Super Bowl champion, Tony Dungy Uncommon Leader Award winner, a motivational speaker, a philanthropist, and an author. Please give it up for the Ben Utecht.
True, man. You're tough to follow. It's not fair. That's not fair. And don't feel bad, because I still feel like a ladies' man. I have 4 daughters, so I'm surrounded 4 daughters. You know, so just throw prayers and good thoughts my way as much as you can, because I need it. And you know, thank you so much to Ricky and to Montel for the invitation to come. It was just a few days ago we were on the phone. I don't think you realized I'd be back in Minnesota, so really excited to be here. I know you guys want everybody to have a true NFL experience, so after the event, if you want, over here on the side, I will hit you as hard as I possibly can. My career ended due to concussion, and I think it's important for everybody to experience one. I just think that, no, that's a joke. That's a bad joke. I'm just kidding on that. And it's so amazing when you have a chance to tell your story. It always makes me, reminds me really of how old I'm actually getting. I just turned 42. I finished playing for the Gophers in 2003. Went on to play for the Indianapolis Colts and the Cincinnati Bengals. Blessed to be on the Super Bowl championship team in 2007 against the Chicago Bears. Any Bears fans here? Sorry, no. But just reminds me of just how fast time flies. I just came off the road a couple weeks ago, having just turned 42. I walk into my bathroom, and my wife had put a birthday gift right next to the sink. And I was like, oh man, I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. I'm so loved by this incredible woman. She thought of me on the road. I come back, and there's this amazing gift, and I begin to unwrap it. I'm so excited to find a Just for Men beard coloring kit. So, the reason I'm so dark today is because I have applied that kit, and all of the grays are gone. That's not a joke. That actually happened. So, man, I'm so inspired right now. You know, grew up in a small river town, Hastings, Minnesota. Didn't come from much at all. My dad was the pastor at a small Methodist denomination. We moved every 5 years. And you're going to have to forgive me because it didn't really hit me until about 30 minutes ago, just listening to what we're trying to do here today. And I can't relate on a lot of levels, but I can relate to having never owned a home as a family. You know, we didn't make a lot of money. And I didn't realize at the time, but because of that, we always had to live in a church parsonage. So my parents never actually bought their first house until they were in their 50s, and I never understood why I was so emotional for them. And I'm getting a little emotional now, but it's the power of a home, right? The power of ownership, and to step into something that is designed to build and allow family to flourish. So I'm just really inspired to be here with y'all today. And I'm so excited for what Movement is doing. I've been so blessed to get to know Casey Crawford and Mike Brennan and the rest of this amazing team that are wearing the Culture Runs Deep, and we'll touch on really what that means as I share a little story. But thank you. Thank you for everything that is happening in this room so that we can continue to make Minnesota a better place to live and to build a home and to build a community. I was so blessed. February 4th of 2007. One of only 2 Super Bowls in the history of the NFL to reign. Prince played at halftime. Prince sang Purple Rain in the rain. It was unbelievable. And I'm going to just build off of what Drew was talking about, the bridge of belief. The bridge of belief really being the foundation of what culture is. Culture is what you believe, why you believe it, and how you behave it, how you practice it. And within that reality is the power to choose culture and to develop it, to create systems around culture that you can practice in order to reach and achieve the behaviors that you want. And tying into that belief system takes me back to that Miami football field where we're playing the Chicago Bears. And I'll never forget, I'm in the tunnel. We get the green light to run out of the tunnel. I plant my foot on that freshly cut Super Bowl grass and I hear this familiar voice. Ben, Ben. And I turn, and there's my dad. In the tunnel, hanging over so much he's about to fall over. He had worked his way halfway around the stadium, you guys, to get into this moment. And wouldn't you believe, in that moment, I kind of shoot him away like he was a pest and fly. I know some of y'all here want to just like do some mean things here, you know, but I shoot him away because I'm like, Dad, this is a Super Bowl. I don't want to go play. And I took one more step, and it was like the fist of God just sucker punched me in the gut. And I heard this voice say, go back to where it all began. Go back to your dad. So I turn and I sprint back to the tunnel. Everybody else is on the field. My dad is walking back up through, and I start crying out, Dad, Dad. And he hears me, and he comes back, and he leans down, and I'm telling you, it was a cinematic moment. It really was. It was just like a movie. And we grab hands, and we just both start crying. I said, Dad, I love you. And it all started with you. And I was whisked back in time when he was preaching at a small church in Rochester, Minnesota. And we used to go in the backyard, and he'd get on his knees, and he'd let me run into him with everything I had. And he always pretended to just get blown up. And I thought, man, and I remembered this creed that my dad had. A creed was defined as a set of beliefs that guide the behaviors and actions of people. I'll remember this creed my dad had around 4 non-negotiable beliefs. First and foremost, play for God. Play for something bigger than yourself. Because when you play for something bigger than yourself, you set a bar higher than any human could ever. Second was never stop working. Outwork everyone. And never give up because there's always somebody right behind you. And last, and most important, have fun. What's the point in playing if you can't have fun, if you don't love the game? And we came out of that moment, and I took the field and was just on this incredible journey to win this Super Bowl, 29-17 against the Chicago Bears, and to play with some of the greatest players in the history of the game. Like Peyton Manning, and the list goes on. But it began with one man. It began with a Hall of Fame coach by the name of Tony Dungy. Now, Tony Dungy changed everything because he was the first to win a Super Bowl built on servant leadership, value-based leadership. And like Tony was talking about, you know, those for so long have been seen as the soft skills. But when you win a world championship with it, you shut the mouths of the naysayers. Now all of a sudden, all of those powerful non-negotiables like integrity, character, courage, empathy, grace, humility, on and on and on, become realistic and products of the human condition that actually drive you towards becoming the best you can possibly be. Especially when you don't just write them as a value statement on a website, but instead you build a game plan around how you practice these to actually develop these qualities. And that's what Tony Dungy did. And for the first time in my life, I was just enraptured by the power of chosen culture, because you will have culture by design or default. You will always have culture by design or default. So why not design it? Why not design it? Why not turn it into something incredibly impactful and transformational? And that's what happened in Indianapolis. And it starts at the top. Culture is the leader's choice. And we have to create alignment as a team, unified by a chosen belief system. It reminds me of a famous story of a facilities manager at NASA. And President John F. Kennedy is walking the halls of NASA, and he comes across this janitor. And this janitor is mopping the floors, and he's doing everything he can to make the building look as clean as possible. He stops and he introduces himself to the janitor as the president, and he asks the janitor a question. Sir, what's your job here at NASA? And without skipping a beat, the janitor says, Mr. President, my job is to put a man on the moon. Mr. President, my job is to put a man on the moon. Just let that sink in for a second. When you go further in the story, you learn that that was a non-negotiable belief by design created by the organization of NASA. That no matter what, whether you are facility management or you are working on the rockets, you are a part of the same non-negotiable belief that everything you do is to put a man on the moon. Fast forward to 2007. Okay? If you go through the Indianapolis Colts administration, whether you're looking at our facilities management, our equipment managers, our training staff, our players, our coaches, the entire business administration side, all the way up to our owner, Jim Irsay, and ask the question, what's your job here in Indianapolis? Without missing a beat, everyone would have said, it's to win a Super Bowl. And that was by design. That was a belief that Coach Dungy distributed across the entire organization. Which is why every single person in the organization got a Super Bowl ring. Because everybody played a part in one chosen culture. When you do culture right, not only do you impact an organization, not only do you transform an organization, but you change the human condition. When you do culture well, when you build championship culture, not only do you impact an organization, but you transform a person. And I'll close with an example of what that looks like. I'm in my senior year at the University of Minnesota. I'm one of the top 2 tight ends in the country. I'm up for the Mackey Award, which is the country's top tight end award, preseason All-American. I'm selected to go anywhere mid-first round to early second round. Everything is working the way that I had always dreamed. We're playing the Wisconsin Badgers. My name is called to run a corner route. I release straight up the field, 10 yards. I plant my foot on the turf and I take a 45-degree angle. I turn to look for the ball, and as I turn, I feel and I hear pop, 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 pop all across my lower abdomen. And all of a sudden, my legs give out and I crash to the turf. But I caught the ball. I mean, that's important. But that was it. That was the end. That was the end of my college career. In fact, I would go on to the NFL Combine unable to perform. We didn't see what the injury was on any MRI. All of the teams decided to red flag me because I was too much of a health risk. And I went through 2 of the most embarrassing days of my life when my name was never called. I went from being a potential first round pick to not getting drafted at all. Driving up in a car to my agent's office on a Minnesota gloomy, rainy day, holding back tears, thinking my entire career is done. I don't know what I'm going to do now with my life. Rewind 2 months. I have a chance to speak at an Athletes in Action event and open for Tony Dungy, who was a former University of Minnesota Gopher. So I get up in front of about 700 alumni and I say, hey coach, us Gophers, we stick together, so if you really care about this state, you're going to draft me in the upcoming draft. And let's go. he was so gracious. You know, he came to the mic and said, Ben, man, we drafted a tight end in the first round out of Iowa last year, Dallas Clark, great tight end. And we're not going to be looking for tight ends this year. And then he paused and he stepped back from the podium and he put his hand on his chin and he came back. And he said, you know what, I'm going to make a promise to you in front of all these people. If for some reason you slip through the cracks, if for some reason you're not drafted, I promise I'll be the first person to call. And everybody clapped, and you know, it was a nice thing to say. It went in one ear and out the other for me, you know, because the chances of that happening were slim to none. But here I am 2 months later, undrafted. I have no idea what's going on. Still don't completely understand the injury. Sitting across the desk from my agent and my dad, and there's a phone in the middle of the table. All that's left is the free agent market. These are the leftovers. These are the guys that usually just get brought into teams to give the veterans a break. That's where I am. 5 seconds after the free agent market opens, the phone in the middle of the table rings, and I pick it up, and who do you think it was? Tony Dungy. What? You talk about an uncommon man. Tony Dungy was the first person to call. And like a bolt of lightning, I remembered this promise he made months ago in front of 700 people. You want to talk about practicing integrity and character. He said, Ben, you know, we didn't think this was going to happen. We know how talented you are when we're healthy. We think we know what your injury is because we've had experience with it before. We want you to be a Colt. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you to the top doctor in the country so you can get surgery and just rest. We don't even want you to think about playing the first year. Just rest and get better. And we'll pay you as though you're a playing rookie. What? Right? This is the NFL. What have you done for me lately? Nothing. And they're just handing me through, you know. Imagine just how amazing that is for an organization practicing a championship culture to invest in a person's healing. The beauty in all this, the miracle in all this, is that 3 years later, I'm a starting tight end on a Super Bowl championship team. And none of it happens without one man who built a chosen culture around the practicing of a non-negotiable belief system to transform an organization, but more importantly, transform every one of its players. I come back from that injury. My first year back from that injury, Dallas Clark, the first round pick, goes down with a concussion. So I get to start my first year back from the injury against Ray Lewis and the Baltimore Ravens. Oh. Still get heartburn every time I say their names. And guys, I had the game of my life. I had the game of my life. It was third quarter. The safety botched the coverage, which left me wide open. Peyton Manning sees it, comes back, hits me back shoulder. I turned around, ran over that safety for a touchdown in the first NFL game I ever played in. I get off the ground as I'm kind of stepping on that safety. No, I'm just kidding. I wasn't a dirty player. But it was Deion Sanders. So I was like, Deion, I got all your cards. So my first touchdown, I caught a pass from a Hall of Fame quarterback and ran over a Hall of Fame defensive back. The whole point is, you guys, culture matters. It's not soft. You can't get more metallic than culture when you take it seriously. The reason why you see these shirts is because this is a company that gets it. Okay? Love and value people first. Right? The connection between movement and what I experienced is that they are trying to build the exact same thing, which is why we are here. We exist to love and value people first. Where does that come from? If you know Casey Crawford, he'll tell you it comes straight out of the gospel. Love your neighbor as yourself. Really interesting that it uses neighbor. And we're here discussing residential real estate. Love your neighbor as yourself. But first, in order to love your neighbor, who do you have to love first? Yourself. We look at her. Yes! That was awesome. Oh, that was said by the only Bears fan in the room, too. But let me just close with that thought, okay? Because it's oftentimes we throw this stuff around without really letting it sink in. And here's my point. It is possible for me to stand up here not knowing many of you and to actually tell you that I love you. It really is possible. But in more than just a way. I mean seriously. And the reason why is because if I love myself, because I recognize that I was created for a purpose, that I have purpose as a human, then that universally connects me to every single one of you, because I believe each of you were created for a purpose. I believe each one of you have intrinsic value. So I can say to you, I love you.
Love
as a
you too,
brother
bro.
and sister. Thanks, buddy. And I'm serious. You have purpose in this life. And it's going to be exciting to see it lived out. Every single one here. That's what this company is all about. And that's why when we do these events, and we bring education and we bring inspiration, there is nothing we can't do to solve these problems and to pour into the human condition at work, to create a culture that not only will transform a community, but it will change lives. Thank you.